Hey guys, what's up and welcome to today's mobility challenge. We're going to be working on the humble air squat today. It's a simple movement that often gets overlooked, but today we're going to spend some time making sure that you guys can hit the correct positions and know exactly what your squat should look like.
If you want to optimise your performance in the gym and be injury and pain free, it's important to have a good quality squat. So that's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay. So first thing, we're going to look at the sequence of joints that are going to move. So first of all, we're going to set Sarita up into a position for an air squat. Now, with our air squat, we know that our foot position needs to be shoulder width apart, but we'll come on to that very shortly. The prerequisite for any of this movement is what we call the hip hinge. So at this point here, Sarita's going to send the hips backwards, noticing that we're keeping a neutral spine, there's no rotation through the hips. We've got a nice flat spine at this point, and then she's going to stand herself back up. So this is the first point that we need to look at, making sure that we've got that hinge happening at the hip. Now once we've got that hinge happening at the hip, we know that that joint's going to move first. We then follow it by moving through the squatting sequence. And as we go through this squatting sequence, we're looking for the crease of the hip to drop clearly below the knee, whilst maintaining that neutral spine at the bottom there. Okay, and stands up. Cool. So the fault that we're trying to avoid is if we get the sequence of joints out of position, so where the knees have come forward first, and then we're trying to sit in here. This is going to put undue pressure through the patellar tendon, and it also can lead to a mortise knee when the knee tracks inside the foot, which we don't want. Okay, so that's our first correction. So if we find ourselves squatting and the knees are moving first, we then must readdress ourselves and we go hips move first. So this thing, hips go down and backwards into our squat. Beautiful.
The next thing we're going to look at is the spine when squatting. So two faults that you see often. The first is where the spine curves on the way down. So here I'm going to ask Rob to say chest up, shoulders back, and that sorts that out straight away. Come back up, Robert, please. The second fault we see is overextension of the spine, where the butt sticks out, and here I'm just going to ask Robert to brace his midline, and that should fix that. There you go. Lovely. It's a nice squat, Robert.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is the foot position on the floor. This is where we make contact with the ground, and it's really important that we create what we call torque, which is turning force. And to do this, Sarita's going to get her feet in a shoulder width position. She's going to focus on pushing her big toe into the floor and almost trying to rip the floor apart. Okay, what that's going to do is create torque through the hips. As she starts to move, we want the hips to go down and backwards, and the knees are going to press out towards the little toe, and the feet should stay in position here. What we want to avoid, so as we stand, what we want to avoid is our feet turning out like Coco the Clown. We want them to be nice and straight. Oh, that's a bit of a squat. We want them to be nice and straight as we go through this movement. So we're looking somewhere between 20 degrees, 12 and 20 degrees. You don't want to be too far out. Some people, because of the femur makeup in the legs, may have to go out slightly, but as long as we've got the tracking of the knee towards the little toe, that's what we're aiming for. So as we come down, this knee is over by the little toe and not dived across. We're all good to go.
So following on from talking about toes, we're going to discuss weight distribution in a squat. So really you want the weight to be going through the middle of your foot so that it's in line with gravity. So problems that we do often see are people going onto the balls of their feet and their heels coming up, in which case I'll try two things. I'll say, Robert, heels. Lovely, okay. And if we're still not in line, we'd ask him probably to move his toes out a little bit and try it from there. There we go.
Alright, so the next thing we're going to look at is the depth within the squat. It's really important, especially when we come into our challenge that we've got for the remainder of this 21 days. That we get the full range of movement on the squat itself. And what that's going to look like is, as we're sending the hips down and backwards, we're breaking the parallel so that the crease of the hip is clearly below the knee. But at the same time, we're maintaining tension. So we don't want you to get into the bottom position, as Sarita's just done there, and surrender that tension. We want to maintain tension whilst holding this bottom position. She's then going to use her glutes and her backside to stand herself up to extension through the hips. Alright guys, so we're going to talk about the 21-day challenge, and today it's going to be squat therapy. Squat therapy is not where we sit on the sofa and discuss our feelings about how squatting is. And this is about creating a better squat for you. And it starts out with the wall squat, okay? Sarita's going to give us a demonstration of it. We start out with our body, the length of your shoe away from the wall. Put the toes behind that. Now the idea of this squat therapy is to keep your body as upright as you can whilst maintaining all the positions that we've talked about during the first part of this video. So the weight's going to be in the heels. She's going to hinge at the hip. She's going to try and maintain a neutral spine. And she's going to bring hands above her head if she can. Maybe? There we go. Look into that position there. Now, this is a pretty good position. She's just clear of the wall. Let's make sure that they stay in the heels. Okay. That's not bad at all. That's not bad. And then from there, she's going to use her legs to stand herself up. Now, the aim of this is to get ourselves as close to the wall as we can. Okay, so it's obviously each individual is going to be slightly different depending on the flexibility, the range of movement, how warm you are, lots of different factors. But as you notice there, when you get to a certain point, you may not be able to get into that bottom position whilst maintaining all of these principles. Okay, so the second part of the squat therapy that we're going to look at is a goblet squat. When we're doing squats, you know, we only spend a couple of seconds down in the bottom of it. For your body to get used to being in that bottom position and creating a decent, stable position at the bottom, you've got to spend more time than that split second whilst you're there. So we're going to do a little drill, bottom of the goblet squat. And she's going to set herself into her heels, keep her chest elevated. Once we're in there, again, we're going to maintain that active stance at the bottom, making sure that our knees are tracking out, we're not just surrendering down onto our joints. We're looking to hold this body position. Holding it. So if you look now what's actually happening over the last couple of seconds, Sarita's started to lose this spine position there. So she needs to get her chest up, fight for that position, maintain that active, and then squat out.
That's hard. So your challenge, guys, are three things. You're going to spend a minute in each of these three things. So the first thing you're going to do is the wall therapy we talked about. So standing 1 foot away from the wall, hands up in the air, hinge at the hip, down you go, trying to keep your hands away from the wall. And then you might just leave them there for a few seconds. Up you go. And then try and get closer and closer to the wall. A minute is going to be a long time down there, so break it up if you need to. The second thing you're going to do is going to try and sit in the bottom of a goblet squat where you're still active, so you're not surrendering down to the bottom. You're still active, try and stay there for as long as you can. That creates a lovely bird. And then you can put the goblet down if you want to and hang out in the bottom of a squat for another minute. Did.